Okay, so now that we have a good understanding of our words, let's put the words together into sentences. So to review that crazy poem that I asked you to compile for me, I want to show you something. I have a theory that for the most part, everybody chose the same types of words. Now, sometimes it might be a little bit different, right? But for the most part, because of those little marker words like and, the, all, it was, little things like that, that gives us clues for what types of words that we should use. And you already kind of inherently know this stuff. So here is my example of this poem. I filled in the blanks. So it was summer and the noisy squirrels did climb and rustle in the trees. All squishy were the cherries and the bird feeder felt slimy. Now, here we have, it was summer, right? So summer is a noun, right? You could also have some kind of adjective, right? Like windy, but my guess is that most people chose a noun or an adjective, right? And the blank blank. So here I have adjective noun, and I'm willing to bet that the majority of students here chose adjective noun, right? And that's just because we've got two blanks here, but we have two blanks that are following an article, right? The. So that gives us the hint that this is some kind of noun, right? The goes with nouns. So if we have two of them, we've probably got the adjective noun. So the noisy squirrels. I suppose it's a good idea if I turn my laser pointer on here, right? So it was noun, right? Or maybe you have adjective, and the adjective noun did blank and blank. So because we have this verb do, right? Past tense, did, that's going to give us a pretty good clue that these are most likely going to be verbs. So I'm willing to bet that most students chose verbs. So I have did climb and rustle in the, now here we have that article the again, so probably a noun, in the trees. All squishy were the cherries. Now this one, depending on sort of where students go with that word all, right? Some people like to do it very Valley Girl. I was all like, whatever. But a lot of people, I think, will choose all adjective were the noun, right? Some people will choose a noun here, right? All noun were the noun, but then like it doesn't really quite fit as well as all adjective were the noun. And the blank, blank, blank. And so this is where most people have kind of the most freedom, because if it's blank, 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 we end up with kind of a subject, verb, object, right? Or subject, verb, adjective, or something like that. So I have and the noun, verb, adjective. Some people might have and the noun, verb, noun, or some people might have and the adjective, noun, verb. This one gets to be kind of the most open because of its construction. But I'm hoping that you see that, yeah, you chose the same types of words that I did. And that's because of these marker words. All right. So just a little experiment of mine to kind of help students realize that you guys know more than you think you do. All right, here is the quiz, the identify the words in the quiz. So we've got damn, which is an interjection. I suddenly realized, okay. Pronoun, adjective, noun. Whoops, these are getting a little out of place here, right? So interjection, pronoun, adverb, verb. That is a pronoun, adjective, big, noun, dog. Apologies for that. Preposition under the adjective. We talked about how that's a special kind of adjective. Couch, noun. Drools, verb. So is a conjunction, fanboys. Someone, pronoun. Verb needs, verb to mop. Right? So there are the answers there. Okay, moving on. Here's a good list of prepositions if you would like to review that or refer back to it. Now, almost every sentence needs a subject and a verb, right? The action of doing something. And I say almost because we do have special kind of sentences which are our imperative clause. And these things are, one verb that acts as a sentence. It's usually some kind of command. So like wait or stop or run or here, right? Where is it? Here. Or come, right? Hi, these kinds of things, they do act as sentences, but they're in that imperative tense. So other than that, every sentence needs a subject, who's the who of the sentence, and a verb. What is the actor doing? So the way that I like to describe this or explain it is I like to use my man, Jackie Chan, all right? So Jackie Chan, he is a very active kind of actor, right? He does a lot of things. So here he's eating pizza, he's kicking, he's petting some dogs. I'm always going to ask you to refer back to who is the Jackie Chan of your sentence, subjects and verbs, right? Who is the Jackie Chan and what is the Jackie Chan doing? So if we take a look at this sentence here, the fat cat plays with the red ball on the floor, right? We've got the subject, which is the fat cat, right? And the verb is play, right? All of that other stuff is supplemental information, right? It's the extra information that makes what we are talking about sort of interesting and worth paying attention to. But at the foundation, we've got the fat cat plays. Everything else are prepositional phrases. So remember prepositions, right? Where or when in time and space. So on the floor, right? And with the ball. Okay, so do you know how to separate your ideas into sentences? Subject, verb, we want one single idea. Well, I'm guessing probably, right? So I invite you to take a moment and sit with this sentence here. You can pause the video. And where do you want to separate this into multiple sentences, right? This is a gross run-on sentence. So go ahead and pause the video, have a look at this, maybe copy it out, and then when you're ready, press play. So here's how I divided it up. Now, English isn't math, so there might be multiple ways that you want to do this, but for the most part, this is probably, the most correct way of doing it. So multiple sentences, right? When I sit down to write, my mind is blank. That's one idea. All I can think of is my name, which seems to me the most boring name in the world. Again, one idea, that idea of the name. Often I get sleepy and tell myself I should take a short nap, right? That's one idea. Other times I start daydreaming about things I want to buy. So here's one option, I get sleepy. There's another option, I start daydreaming. Third option, another sentence. Sometimes I decide I should make a telephone call to someone I know. Again, separate. And then we come back to that piece of paper in front of me is usually still blank when I leave to watch my favorite television show. Right? So all different ideas separated into their own sentences. So again, subject, verb, object. Jackie Chan eats the pie. That's our basic sentence clause. But what do we do when we speak a heck of a lot more complicated than that, or we communicate much more nuanced and sophisticated ideas? So I'm going to take a really weird kind of example. According to the Portland Cement Association, blocks now incorporate insulation in several ways, from mixing it into the pre-molded cement to filling a block's open cavities with loose fill or foam inserts, right? So here is a more like real world kind of a sentence, right? Where is the independent clause, right? The sentence at its purest. My goodness, having this laser thing move around sure makes it hard to flip slides. Well, first thing you should probably do is look for the verbs, right? Subjects and verbs are important. So where are the verbs here? Incorporate, mixing, and filling. Now, if we take a look again, right, where is the subject? What is the thing that is doing something? Well, it's blocks, okay? So blocks now incorporate insulation in several ways. That is our main sentence in this piece that is written. So let's identify what else is going on here. Now we know what our subject and verb, blocks, incorporate, and our object, insulation. Blocks, incorporate, insulation. That's our independent clause. According to the Portland Cement Association, from mixing it into pre-molded cement to filling a block's open cavities with loose fill or foam inserts, additional information. The introductory or dependent or subordinating clause, okay, dependent subordinating clause, they need something, right? It's in the beginning, it's introducing, so it's the introductory dependent clause, according to these people. Our extra information dependent clause comes afterwards, right? The additional information from mixing it to pre-molded to filling it into cavities, yada, yada, yada. So, oh my gosh, stop it. I need to make this laser pointer go away. Sorry, guys. All right. So, the other one, okay, let me go back. Sorry. So, introductory clause, according to, with a comma, right? We're introducing information. Independent clause, blocks now incorporate insulation in several ways. We could end the sentence there. That can stand on its own, but we can add additional information with a dependent clause, from mixing it into the pre-molded cement to filling a block's open cavities with loose fill or foam inserts. There's one other type of clause, which is the relative clause. These things usually include which or with. So according to the Portland Cement Association, relative to that information, which has been a leader in cement standards since 1916. So that's relative information to the dependent clause that came before it. So again, independent clause, they don't need no man, they stand alone. Subject, verb, object. Dependent clause, they can't stand alone as a full sentence. They need to be connected in some kind of way. Relative clause also can't stand alone as a full sentence. It gives extra information about a dependent or independent clause. And usually it is introduced with words like which, that, who, whom, okay? And it is related to something. These words are good markers that you have a dependent clause. All right, so if you read or use words like this, it's a very good chance that you have a dependent clause. So you'd better make sure that it is connected to a complete thought. So what do I mean by that? How does that even work? Okay. Here we have two sentences, one beginning with while and one beginning with especially. Now the problem is these two sentences are incomplete. We need to know what else, what happens. So for example, while many vacationers enjoy spending a day at the beach, watching their little ones dig deeper and deeper into the wet and heavy packed sand, right? If that wasn't there, if it just said many vacationers enjoy spending a day at the beach, watching their little ones dig deeper and deeper into the wet and heavy packed sand, that would be fine. But we have this word while, right? Which means that while one thing is happening, something else needs to happen, right? And that is not resolved here, right? The same thing is happening here, especially if the whole becomes concave in shape. So what? Unfortunately, many do not realize that without proper support, the walls of these deep holes can suddenly collapse, comma, especially if the whole, yeah, okay, that's additional information. But especially if the whole becomes concave in shape is not a complete idea, right? If the whole becomes concave in shape, what? Then what? If then, we need that, right? So these are common mistakes that happen when we use these types of words. So I strongly encourage you to look at this, this little table here, right? And really think about when you are starting sentences with these types of words, make sure you have a complete sentence. You might not. Okay, so then how do we resolve this, right? So this is where I said that conjunctions were important, right? So you join two independent clauses with some kind of conjunction. The comma is optional, but I think it's important, right? So today is Thursday, right? That's a complete sentence. I have school is another complete sentence. But if we write that together, today is Thursday, I have school, that is two independent ideas, two independent clauses. We need today is Thursday, comma, and I have school. Now we have a complete sentence. You can also join two independent clauses with a word like however or therefore. You want to be careful with these. And the construction that you use is semicolon, joining blinking word, comma. Okay, Jackie Chan eats the pie, semicolon, however, comma, Bruce Lee gobbles the cake. Now, English is crazy, so you can join a dependent clause to an independent clause with a comma, or you can join an independent clause to a dependent clause without one, but it matters with order. So while I was sleeping is your dependent clause, comma, the bears ate my peanuts. The bears ate my peanuts is an independent clause, while I was sleeping is your dependent clause. So this one matters with order, sentence order. English is crazy. All right, so in the end, what is the sentence? Well, we've got a subject, a verb, and an object. The second example here is the same sentence. It is a complete sentence. It is a correct sentence, but it's a hell of a sentence. All right, but in the end, what do we have? We have a subject, a verb, and an object with a whole bunch of correctly punctuated dependent clauses. I don't recommend aiming for this second sentence. I recommend something in between. Okay, so what I would like you to do in order to practice this is dissect a sentence. Label everything. At this point, you understand parts of speech, so the types of words, and you have information now about types of clauses. So take any sentence you like, grab one that you find interesting, grab a decent sized one so that you have a lot to work with from one of the essays that you read, and label everything. This would probably be done best by hand, and then take a picture of it and submit it to me on Blackboard. So we have a sentence clause quiz, and label that sentence. And when you are finished those, you can continue on to principles of style. That's 2 down. Thanks very much.